I am 40 years old. I turned 40 just a few months ago. And at 40, I feel like I'm finally learning how to pray. And it's only recently. I'm learning how to pray by listening to another man pray. I think that's important to remember. You can learn how to pray by listening to others pray. And I thought more about this morning, and looking back at the last few weeks, I can say that I genuinely feel like I'm finally learning how to pray, and it's happened because I've been listening to another man pray. Now, this man is David. David died, about 3,000 years ago. And some of his prayers are actually recorded in God's Word. And you find them in the book of Psalms. Now just enjoy this thought. When you come across David in the Psalms, these are his own personal prayers, which means when we read them, we get to listen to another human being pray. And why? It is to learn from them. And so I have so come to love listening to David pray. And for me, it began just a few weeks ago with Psalm 143. And so this morning, I just want to share with you what I have been learning in listening to David pray. It began in Psalm 143, and I learned something more from him this past Sunday. Well, here it is. Here's what I'm learning so far. 1, when you pray, hold nothing back from God. Here's what I mean. Tell God what is happening. Tell God how it is affecting you. And then tell God what you know about him. I mean, take those 3 things and go back and listen to David pray. That's what he does. He tells God what is happening. And this makes me laugh because God knows exactly what is happening before I tell him. But isn't there something so wonderful in holding nothing back? I can tell God what is happening. Why is that wonderful? I'm telling God from my perspective as I'm watching it and experiencing it. Here's what is happening. And tell God how it is affecting you. Again, as you do that, make sure you mix in telling God what you know about him. So that's number 1. When you pray, hold nothing back. Number 2, and when you pray, hold on to his promises. Again, you listen to David do this as he tells God what is happening, as he tells God how it's affecting him, as he tells God what he knows about him in light of all those circumstances or the circumstance. You also see David hold on to God's promises as he prays. And here's what I mean. As you pray, tell God exactly what you need, what you want, what you are requesting. Simply answer this question. What are you asking from God? And you see David do that. As he tells God what is happening, as he tells God how it's affecting him, as he tells God what he knows about him in light of what is happening and how it's affecting him, he just bluntly puts it out there and says, God, and here's what I need from you. Here's what I'm asking. Here's what I want. Okay? But as you do that, give God reason to answer your request. Again, you see David do this. And when you give God reason to answer your request, this is really important. You must root the reason in God's word. Take a look at God's word, and as you pray, God's word informs us how to pray. That is, when I'm giving a request to God, I need to make sure I'm rooting the reason to answer that request in God's word. That is, in what I know God has done and what God has promised. I read a pastor put it this way: argue your case before God. Give him reason. And notice, as David prays, the reasons he gives for God to answer his request are all rooted in God's word. But I have learned one more thing, and I learned it this past Sunday. Okay? Make sure you write this down. As you do all this in your praying, you may not get what you want. You may not get what you asked. You may not get what you requested. But God has answered you. All week, last week, there was a certain request I brought before God more than once throughout the week. And Sunday, this past Sunday, I realized he did not give me that which I requested. I was a little disappointed. I was a little down. I was a little discouraged about it. And then I heard Psalm 25, which again is David praying. And as David prayed, he said this about those who wait for the Lord. So here's what I mean. In doing all that, you may not get what you want, but God has answered you. So, what do you do when God does not give you what you need, what you want, or what you have requested? Get ready for it. It's wonderful. What do? You wait. So again, tell God all about it. Tell him what you are seeking from him. Argue your case and wait. Our fighter verse for this week is from Psalm 31, verse 24. Again, a prayer of David's. Read the whole psalm. David is wonderfully real with God. And then he concludes his prayer request with this: be strong and let your heart take courage, all you who wait for the Lord. And that spoke volumes to me. As I make my request to God, I should not settle on he did not answer it for me. And I prayed something very specific for last Sunday, and it did not happen last Sunday. And God said to me, I have answered you. Now wait. So tell God all about it. Tell him what you're seeking from him. Argue your case, and then wait. So I hope you put this into practice starting today. And I'm going to give you 2 more applications. 1, pray. I hope this helps your praying. But number 2, it's really good to pray with others. Because when we get together and pray with others, as we hear one another pray out loud, don't you think, wouldn't you agree, we can learn from one another about how to pray? So I'm going to ask that you do that this week, that you pray and you look for an opportunity to pray with others. Keep fighting this week. Be strong. Let your heart take courage, all you who wait for the Lord.